Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. We are here to talk about a little fun subject that we all are a huge fan of, the ban list. Of course, I haven't made any videos in advance of the ban list, so I thought it would be a really good idea to make about 10 videos about the ban list afterwards. No, just kidding. Somebody came up to me and asked me, you know, can you maybe make a video talking about why the cards are banned and unbanned? Because it may seem obvious at first, but there are some very deeper meanings behind some of the hits and the unbans on the ban list. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do that. That sounds a little bit fun. So of course, I am not Konami's ban list team, and I do not know exactly why each card is banned and isn't banned. What I do know is common sense, and probably a lot of the reasons why these cards are banned or unbanned or limited or etc. So without further ado, let's explain the ban list real quick. So to start it off, at the top of the ban list is Block Dragon. Of course, we all know this card. It is being abused by the Emancipator. It was glue that sticked it all together into one huge consistent mess. This card was super insane and impactful. Of course, its searching effect when it leaves the field to add up to 3 rock monsters from your deck to your hand was already insane, but it was also a protection effect. It also was recursion for the next turn, and all in all together this card was just a Dragon Ruler on super steroids. Of course, the consistency of having it at 3 was already insane. This was just a huge blowout. You could play out your Emancipator hand and, you know, get stopped somewhere, and your last card would be a Block Dragon and you would still win the match from that point on. The impact of this card was way too huge, and it was way too unfair compared to what other decks have. For example, a deck like Eldlik, it has nothing that goes +3 like that, like so easy. Like just playing the deck out and just summoning the monster out during the combo, and you can just search it and you can do anything you want with it. The card was just way too good. The reason that it got banned actually is because, you know, it is way too powerful, it is way too consistency adding to the deck. But one of the most important things right now is that Emancipator has a really tough time to fix their hand. They really have a tough time to combo off and to get those pieces that they want to have on the board, to actually get them on the board. And one of the other things is, the recursion of the deck now is really hit as well. You cannot just, you know, turn 3, summon a Block Dragon, search 3 more cards. That's not a possibility anymore. You have to play with the cards you have and, you know, spam it out, and that's really good because that's what Emancipator always does, but you do not have the degeneracy of a Block Dragon coming out at the end of the combo or during the combo and searching the rest off. Or the turn afterwards, they don't have a guaranteed way to summon Black Block Dragon, because that was one of the most important and big issues. So you could break their board with, for example, Dark Ruler no more, but the turn afterwards they would just come back anyway. And that's why Block Dragon got banned, because all in all the card is just way too insane, but it's also just too good in turn 3. Then the second card on the list is Jet Syncron, and now all the Hulk Vibrex conspiracy theorists are getting out there. Why isn't Hulk banned? Konami still wants Hulk Vibrex in the format for reasons unknown. To be fair, it really enables a lot of decks, like the Infernoble deck. It would not exist without that card, but I don't know, it's a little bit early to ban Hulk Vibrex, and I'm sure that it will be banned eventually and we will get all these cards back, but until then I am still also a fan of just banning a little bit around it. And Jet Syncron definitely hits the mark. A lot of people make memes about the fact that it can just be replaced, for example, by cards like Didi Lamia and Dark Contract of the Gate, which is roughly the same. But there's a big difference, because Dark Contract with the Gate and Lamia, for example, they don't let you discard a card. They make your Hulk Vibrex and they still enable your Linkuriboh play, which was really important for a lot of combos. But the discarding of a Jet Syncron was way too good. For example, in a deck like Eldlik, it was actually synergizing with the deck way more, because basically Jet Syncron Eldlik was the only deck that played Jet Syncron. Not your Jet Warrior, that's not a real card. But the discarding made it such a difference. You know, there are still a lot of options to make Hulk Vibrex with one card. Of course, we all know that, and people are still complaining about that, but the difference is that Jet Syncron did it while discarding a card. For example, a card like Plague Spreader Zombie, which will be really popular in this format, is not the same. You can normal summon him, make Almirage, yeah. And then you can make Hulk Vibrex with that by putting a card on the top of your deck. Putting a card on the top of your deck is really different than putting a card in the graveyard. Which is why Jet Syncron got banned, because it just utilizes too much. It is definitely the best of the one card Hulk Vibrex plays, and it's just way too good, and it's just better compared to the rest. Then the last card that is being banned is Mecha Phantom Beast Lion. This is in line with the ban of the Steam Cloak. That's what it's called. And honestly, it's just too good. It's a little bit more philosophical. There's a bigger philosophy behind why the card is banned. And that's because people are getting used to using that card and the combos are being built around it. It's a level 2 tuner that summons a level 3 token. There is no other card in the game that does that. There are other cards like the other Mecha Phantom Beast that I'm not sure of what's its name. I'll look it up and put it on right here. But that's not the same because it's not level 2 and that's just way different. There is not such a piece in this puzzle that fits just as well as a lion. So I think a lion definitely was one of the good hits. It definitely was coming. You know, it definitely was getting banned for everyone nowadays. I don't know why Simo said it, no one saw this coming, but literally everyone saw this coming. The other thing that it does as well is that it stops Mecha Phantom Beast Errata'd from being as useful, which is also really insane. Just one Errata'd isn't a savage anymore, which is really huge difference, especially if we're gonna, you know, have to use other combo pieces that don't synergize as well. So that's a big difference in, you know, a card like Mecha Phantom Beast Lion versus Plague Spreader. They just do different things. They are really different cards. You know, you can still summon Plague Spreader of Halko Vibrex and summon Plague Spreader back, and that's still really good. But it's not as good as a level 3 non-tuner token. And you know, it's just different. And that's why Lion got banned. I definitely saw it coming. If they weren't banning Halko Vibrex, they were definitely banning that card. It had its ban coming. It's overstayed its welcome really a long time. So let's go straight on to the limited section of the ban list. The first cards that is unbanned is Double Iris Magician. This is a pendulum card that was used back in the day to gain huge amount of advantage with time and space crafts, which are two very insane traps and spells. I will put them on the screen as well. This card basically added the consistency of those cards to pendulum decks, and pendulum decks did not need that consistency because those cards are really broken. Star Pendulum Graph adds another pendulum card if another pendulum card leaves the field, and Time Pendulum Graph basically enables you to send 2 cards from your opponent to the graveyard for no cost in a pendulum deck. And Double Iris searched them out by being destroyed, and being destroyed is a thing that pendulum does really well. So it eventually got banned. It didn't get to 1, didn't get to 2, which is straight up got banned, and now it's at 1. At 1 it's kind of safe. We do not have that much tools for pendulum anymore, you know. Heavy Metal Foes Electromite banned. This card really isn't too broken. I'm sure there are still pendulum builds out there, and it's definitely above the pendulum, but it will not bring pendulum back at 1. This card is still really insane, and it really enforces the Magician Pendulum archetype back again, because that archetype is really good, but it was missing this card. But I'm not sure if it will be broken. I'm pretty sure there's a Pendulum player out here right now searching those time and space graphs. Oh my god, but at 1 it's really fine, and I kind of hope that it stays there, because I don't have very fond memories of that archetype. It was way too good and too consistent. But with everything being hit around Pendulum and an entire Master Rule basically putting up its middle finger against it, I cannot really see where Pendulum will be going in the future. The first card that I really don't have a good answer for is Rusty Bardish. One of the main reasons that it got unbanned is money. Konami will be giving Phantom Knights support in Phantom Rage, I believe the set is called. So Phantom Knights really need their Link monster back to be really broken. And well, this card is really broken. It was an issue back then, being way too generic, putting out 2 Fog Blades for free in most decks, and ending on just a pretty good body and synergizing with a lot of not fair stuff. I've seen boards of Joshua Oasters right now making VFD because of this card, and it's honestly way too good still. Will it stay at 1 forever? I am pretty sure it will be banned eventually again, or maybe we will just power creep over it. Honestly, this card should not have gone back to 1. They are really experimenting with this and pushing their limits because of the support of Phantom Knights. But honestly, the support was already good enough, and they really did not need to bring this card back, because this card is way too good. Back when it was just too generic, and I still think it is too generic right now. The other money limit card is Called by the Grave. Although everyone is really salty about Called by the Grave being banned, there are still a lot of really good reasons because Called by the Grave is banned. Because everybody is saying that hand traps are a really big issue right now, but then when you put the other side on it, nobody wants to play against Numeron. And the reason Numeron was really good, because you could cult buy when they had a Ghost Ogre. And suddenly nobody gets mad when you open 3 hand traps against a deck like Numeron. So, you know, it's really a little bit both sides of the coin here, you know. Do you want hand traps in the game? Do you don't want hand traps in the game? Do you want hand traps against certain decks? Because that just makes no sense. Cult by the Grave definitely was a card that was way too good. It was both offensive and defensive. It could be used for way too much reasons, you know. A card like Nobleman of Crossout that will release pretty soon, I hope, fits just a really different role, and it's just not too good as Cult by the Grave, you know. It was way better than just a hand trap stopper. It was a combo stopper. It was a, you know, you could banish targets from the grave for no real reason. It was just way too good. It was put to 2 earlier, then it was back to 3, and now it is to 1, and I think that this card will stay at 1 for forever now, because this card, it's just a really good card. It's just really solid and really generic, and we already have so many cards like that in the game, and I'm not saying we should limit them all, but I'm saying we should limit this card, because this card is way too good, and honestly, it should have been... I'm not saying it should have been bad, because honestly, I don't see the issue with this card. But I can understand where Konami is coming from. It's really good for going first, it's really good for going second, it's really good to break combos, to stop hand traps. This card is like the biggest Swiss Army knife that we had in our deck, and it would, you know, using Cult by the Grave in your combo to protect your combo was really good, but if you could set it and wait until your opponent's turn, it's still at use. That makes a card like that just way too good. And the last card is Harpy Shredded. This card was coming for a long time. The reason why this card is unbanned and not Heavy Stormed is because Heavy Storm destroys your own spells and traps, and that synergizes with a lot of cards. So that card will probably stay banned forever. But Harpy Shredded is now at 1, adding up to the Lightning Storm pool and the red reboots of destroying back row. And I really don't know why red reboot is still at 1. Because they just print out more back row destroying stuff, I guess. I don't know, Konami, you tell me. But this card is now at 1, and that's fine. This card was coming, and it's not like everyone is going to main 1 now. They're probably siding it together with a red reboot, which is honestly fine in my opinion. It's a little bit too much, because now you have 3 Storm, 1 red reboot, and 1 Harpy Shredded, and you know how many judgments can a Scepter player have. But this card at 1 is fine. This was coming for way too long. OCG has it already, and I know that everyone says OCG has it already, but it's an entire different game. But even over there, it proved not to be too broken, because, you know, it's just a one-off. You know, you need to have it. Better have it. But I'm just kind of scared that it adds way too much to the consistency of 3 Lightning Storm Duster. So the cards that are put to 2. Putting cards to 2 is really something really weird, because it's not, you know, it's making a consistency hit for whatever that is, and it's just kind of weird to put cards to 2. There's only one real good example why a card should be at 2, and that's Destiny Hero Malicious, and it should be at 2, and it's a really good card to put at 2 because of how it works. But any other card at 2 is just kind of weird, you know. It's just... So let's start off at the top. We have Sear and Graph. We can talk about those 2 cards together. People are really scared this will bring back the 3.5 Access Dragon Link deck. It will not, because that deck will only play 1. Sear and Graph were limited to hurt the consistency of Burning Abyss. Graph was limited quite quick, and Sear was semi-limited before going to 1 eventually. Now the 2 cards are back at 2. Basically, what I have to say about it is I'm biased. I played Burning Abyss forever. It was my first competitive deck. But honestly, what is pure Burning Abyss going to do? It's gonna make a Dante and pass. That's basically how I see it. There are still a lot of broken applications right now, but that's mostly because Rusty Bardish is at 1. Pushing Rusty Bardish to 1 and these cards to 2 was kind of an insane move by Konami. That's not really good timing wise, but of course it's always, you know, kind of going together with the Phantom Knight support that's coming out soon. Putting these cards at 2 was honestly fine in a very vacuumed format, but with so much support coming, I'm not sure if it was the best idea. Although I really welcome it, these cards should be at 2 or maybe even at 3, because, you know, then you open to Graph and its effect is only once per turn, and if you need to special it, you don't get its other effect. And yeah, I don't know. Back then it was really necessary to kind of tap BA on the wrist a little bit, and right now it's just really nice to get some consistency going for the deck. Because it basically is a deck that has been dead for a really long time, and no one really expected it to die off, but it did because other decks just got better, and I really wonder what's going to happen with the Burning Abyss deck. Now, I know I'm gonna play it, it's gonna be fun. These cards are at 2 now, honestly fine. And the other 2 cards we can talk about together as well. It's ABC and Totally Awesome. These cards were a hit because your guess is honestly as good as mine. I have no idea. I think Konami got way too scared with the new Master Rule that these decks would become broken. But nobody played ABC in forever. Like literally forever. And Totally Awesome as well. Why would you hurt Paleozoics like that? There's no reason to hurt Paleozoics like that. The deck does nothing. Now these cards are back at 2, which is a huge consistency boost. I prefer to see Toad at 2 because I think 3 might be way too much. But you can definitely put ABC Dragabuster to 3. ABC is an archetype that was really something else, and it was honestly working. It was really good, but it was just a very, very different deck from the things that we were used to back then. And seeing Buster to 2, and I hope really that the ABC players can start playing again, because at 1 the deck was dead, but now the deck is really, really good. Especially with Called by the Grief gone now. That was also really necessary. But now especially, I think really ABC is in a good spot this format, and I really hope that the players are happy with their decks, and I really hope that I don't get to play against them because I really hate ABC. But this card at 2 is honestly really, really fine. Totally Awesome as well. It may be a little bit too good, but you know, it's Paleozoic, we have Harpy Shredded, it's fine. It's fine. These cards are really good hits. They should not have been on the ban list anyway. So let's see if they get to 3 eventually. Now we have 5 cards to talk about going to 3. And the first one is Tour Guide of the Underworld. So this card was at 1 for the longest. Actually, this card was at 3 for the longest, and eventually it got limited because of Burning Abyss, which was a consistency to Burning Abyss. Then eventually Graph and Sear got to 1 as well, and then the deck was basically dead. But Tour Guide going to 3 is honestly really, really fine. It's only consistent, but even then, this card dies to Ash, to Failure, to Impermanence, and that kills the entire Burning Abyss deck. The only thing that I'm really scared of is that Tour Guide could start off combos. It's a 1-card Hulk Vibrex, of course. But then again, it still dies to Ash and Vader and Impermanence and everything like that. And that basically kills all decks, because you have to pass. Because how are you going to extend, really? This card to 3 is honestly fine. It's not even the best card in the Burning Abyss deck right now. It's Graph. So, I don't know. I'd rather open Graph plus a BA than only a Tour Guide, because if the Tour Guide gets stopped, you lose, and the Graph cannot get stopped, basically. So yeah. Tour Guide to 3, I hope people don't abuse it, but it's a Tour Guide, who cares. The other monster that is being unbanned straight up is Makyura the Destructor. This card was really, really broken, and every time someone says Yu-Gi-Oh! Back then was way better, remind them that this card existed. When this card is sent to the graveyard, you can activate traps from your hand for the rest of your turn. This effect is errata'd, or supposedly errata'd, because by the time of recording this video the card is not yet errata'd. Konami, please fix the database. But it should be errata'd and be released in the new Duelist pack. Rice, whatever, I'm not sure, Duelist pack sucks. But it's being errata'd. You can only activate 1 trap from your hand this turn, which basically changes the game around the card, totally. Back then you could FTK with this card, playing cards like Reckless Greed, Jarva Greed, and Yata Garasu, draw a card trap, and basically FTK your opponent with Exodia, and it was huge consistency and it was really, really good. But now the card, you can only activate 1 trap, and who cares? What 1 trap is gonna make such an impact that you win the game now? I honestly don't know. The other unlimit is Evil-Gishki Guskraken, and this is a really, really, really bad idea, because Evil-Gishki is a deck that can hand loop, and Guskraken is a card that can hand loop. And Guskraken is really, really good, and this is going to be insane, and I hope people don't pick up on this deck, because this deck can really consistently hand loop now. Really consistently hand loop. This card is a huge, huge, huge mistake, should not be a 3. Konami, please limit it back the next list, because they're hand loops. What do you want, Konami? Do you want hand loops? Do you don't want hand loops? The players don't want hand loops. It's the least amount of fun you can have. You can start your turn with 1 or 0 cards. And how is that really nice or cool or anything? But this card is honestly way too good. It shuffles cards back into the deck. It doesn't discard, which adds to the power level of the card. And honestly, I don't know what Konami is thinking. This card should just straight up be banned on my part, because it's just way too good, and now it has consistency, and we are back at the format why the card was banned in the first place, or limited. Then the last 2 unlimits, one of them is Fantasia of the Monarchs. This card was basically the consistency card of Monarch. Back when the structure deck released, this deck was really, really popular because it was both cheap and really, really good. That changed real quick when the boss monster and Pantheism both were limited. Nice. Or banned. Was it banned? I'm not sure. But now it's a 3, adding back to the consistency of Monarchs. And Monarchs is a really scary deck now, but at the end of the day it is still Monarchs and it dies to basically everything. You can just Lightning Storm it and you win or evenly matched because they have no in archetype on the gate. Although the deck is really scary and really consistent right now, the thing you should be most afraid of is FTKs, because the Monarch engine is a really consistent one, as I said earlier, but its Pantheism's draw effect is not once per turn, which is really good for decks that filter their entire deck with trade-ins, because all the Monarchs are level 8, and it's gonna get out of hand real quick. But honestly, discarded 3 is fine, it's good for the Monarch decks. I'm really happy for Lithium for finally getting back his pet deck. And will this deck do anything? Not on a huge level. I think at locals it will be good, but it will definitely not beat any of the best decks right now. And the last card is Sky Striker Widow Anchor. Yeah. This card was semi-limited for a really long time, but eventually we got Kagari back, and that proved that the deck still was not good without multi-roll or engage at 3. Now we have Widow Anchor at 3, adding to the consistency of the Sky Striker deck. They don't have to mess around with only 2 Widow Anchors now. They can kind of play more freely, which is honestly fine. Striker is a really cool, interesting deck. It's really different from anything else we've ever seen. And discarded 3 is basically, it's just fine. They get some consistency back. As long as they don't get multi-roll back or engage, we are in a really good spot. So that was my little discussion. So how do you feel about the banners? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm really happy about it. We're gonna enter a really fun format, and I've been sharing a lot of videos on the channel about new decks already. If you want to see more videos like this or like deck lists, stuff like that, because that's my usual content, you should subscribe to the channel. Follow my adventures in the Yu-Gi-Oh format, because we are in for a really wild ride, full of hand loops, infinite combos, and fun stuff. But yeah, if you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe, follow the channel, and yeah, comment down below on what your favorite Sky Striker Widow Anchor effect is. Mine is having 3 spells in the grave. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you like this stuff, be sure to like the video. It really helps out. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.